Hey, what's up everybody? My name's PersNikity and welcome back to my walkthrough for For Honor. This is on realistic difficulty and we're still on the Knights chapter, so this game is separated into three chapters: Knights, Vikings, and Samurai. I'm assuming, I haven't played the whole game yet, but I'm assuming all the chapters are the same. The Knights chapter, 6 levels long, and we are moving on to level 1.4 Valkenheim in winter. For those of you new, I don't talk during cutscenes, so here's a little bit of story to set us up.
The time came to show the Vikings who they really were. We would strike deep into the heart of their lands. But first, we needed to cross the mountain pass, and Holden Cross would lead the charge.
The snow was already falling on Valkenheim. But we went anyway.
Alright, so here we go. This level brings on some changes. Now, instead of playing as the Warden, who we've played as for the first 3 levels, instead now we're playing as Holden Cross. And as you can see just by his build, he is a bigger, stronger, heavy hitter, as opposed to the Warden, who's kind of like your standard build soldier. So in this chapter, in the Knights chapter, you're going to be playing as 3 different character types. The Warden, who I kind of consider the standard build. This guy, who is the giant heavy hitter, strong weapon guy. He's a bit slower, but his attacks bring more damage. And then there's also the quick, kind of, not stealthy, but quick and like docile type, I guess would be the word for it. Or wait, not docile. What am I thinking? I can't think of my words right now. It's been a long day. Point is, you don't even need to worry about that for the time being, because you will not be playing as that character type until the end. I promise, I know words, but when you spend 9 hours on campus, where pretty much every hour is spent studying physics, at the end of the day, your brain starts to turn off a bit, and so that's when you get to wind down, play some video games, and do some commentary. Anyway, before I make myself sound like even more of an idiot, let's just try to focus on the gameplay, because there's not much I can mess up here. I'm alright at this game. So far, I'm doing pretty well. But yeah, so we're playing on realistic mode. The biggest differences are, or the biggest difference is, on the other difficulties, the enemies have these little indicators on them which tell you if you have to block left, right, or up. In realistic mode, you don't get those indicators, so instead you pretty much have to solely rely on your visuals. You have to watch the enemy's movements and see what direction do I block in. But believe it or not, I actually don't do a whole lot of blocking. Usually I'm on the offensive, and some really good approaches that you're going to see me use numerous times throughout this walkthrough. First and foremost is the X button. So if you're playing on Xbox, it's X. If you're playing on PlayStation, it's square. Point is, what that command does is it will ram your opponent in the chest, and it will momentarily stun them and allow you to get a couple free hits in. Now, this doesn't always work on the larger, like, boss fight enemies, because sometimes they'll have their own abilities where they can block your movements like that. But for the regular soldiers, for these guys like you see me fighting right here, beautiful move. Cannot stress the importance of it enough. Now, another useful thing is, basically, from the very beginning of the game, what I'm doing is I'm playing each chapter on normal, and then I'm going back and playing on realistic. And the reason for that is because if you play through a chapter first on normal, you can pick up a lot of experience, and that experience helps you unlock newer abilities. So you'll see here, the 2 abilities that I have set in the lower left corner are the health ability and the broken shield ability. So the health one, it gives you, it basically replenishes your health every time it regenerates. And then the broken shield is honestly my favorite ability. What that does is it makes your attacks unblockable for 30 seconds, and that is an incredibly important skill to have, especially when you're fighting bigger guys and the enemies that wield 2 weapons at once, because they tend to be a bit faster and harder to hit. But yes, so those abilities really useful, and those abilities are not unlocked right away, which is why I recommend playing through the first 6 levels, play through every night level on regular or normal, and then go back and play on realistic. There's also a couple things you can do if you're paying attention to the environment. You saw right there I saved myself a fight because instead what I did was I just threw that guy into the frozen water, or into the freezing water. And that's an instant kill. And there's a lot of different things like that. You can throw them off cliff sides, bridges. You can throw them into spikes if there's any spikes on the walls, which actually happened in the previous level. So there's quite a few techniques you could carry over to make your playthrough at least a bit easier. However, with realistic difficulty, it's not just the lack of combat indicators. Enemies are also tougher, stronger, faster, and you don't get as many checkpoints. And believe it or not, I actually made it through the first 3 levels without dying. But from what I found, in my personal opinion, the game kind of sets you up with the first 3 levels are pretty easy. Levels 4 and 5 are like medium, and then level 6 is a bit hard because that's kind of like the final level of the chapter. This level can also be difficult because you're playing as a new character type, and it's just hard to get used to because the Warden, he's personally my favorite one to use, but this guy's a bit slower with his heavy attacks, and so that's something that you have to take into account. A lot of times if you try to do a heavy attack with this guy, it'll be so slow that the enemy will be able to get in like a quick attack and basically stop your progress of hitting them with your big attack. So it's a bit tough. Again, save yourself anytime you can. So right here, just throw this guy into the frozen water. It saves you health, it saves you effort. It's really helpful. And so yeah, what I was talking about is there's a lack of checkpoints, and actually you won't get a checkpoint until you defeat this second catapult station, and the guy up here is actually pretty difficult. This is where I got my first death in the game, and that's how I discovered that if you die right here, you go back to the very beginning of the level, which is kind of unfortunate. So what you're going to want to do, let your abilities respawn. Hopefully you're using this shield break ability. If not, don't sweat it. I'm sure you have your reasons for choosing whatever abilities you choose, but what you want to do here is just get in as much damage as you can, because what's going to happen automatically is this the game's going to prompt this little sequence where this guy throws you down onto the ice. So before that happens, you want to get in as much damage as you can. And then you see right here, no matter what, this is going to happen automatically. He throws you down on the ice, and then he's going to actually activate his power-up, which makes him practically invincible for a limited amount of time. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to run away from him, because when you saw, you could barely see that as I was running away, he started glowing green. That means he's powering up, and when he has this, I don't know what his power-up is, but it's hard. It is hard to kill. He just becomes incredibly fast. You cannot block his attacks, and for me, it basically took 3 hits and I was dead. So if you want to save yourself the trouble, because remember, if you die fighting this guy, you're going to go back to the beginning of the level. So if you want to save yourself a bit of trouble, run away. Let his power-up run dry. Then you're going to run back up the hill to the catapult station, and he'll be back up here. He climbed up automatically, and now you can see his health is really low because we did a ton of damage to him before he threw us down onto the ice. Now right here I tried to use an ability and it just did not work, and honestly I got kind of pissed off. That's kind of something that happens with this game. Sometimes it just feels inconsistent, like I'm doing the same exact thing I've done for many enemies, yet somehow this guy is just slaughtering me. If that happens, again, just kind of distance yourself. Let your abilities regenerate if you have to. I know it takes about 30 to 45 seconds, but hey, it's worth it if it saves you a death. But yeah, if you get kind of overwhelmed or a bit worried that he's going to kill you, don't be afraid to just kind of back off, maybe run back down these steps. The key thing is distance. Just put some distance in between you and him so that you have time to regenerate abilities, to just kind of collect your nerves, anything like that. But yeah, so once you take him out, I believe, I'm not 100% sure here, this game doesn't do a good job at really displaying when you get checkpoints. At least for me, I'm usually so absorbed in the game I can't tell that I've gotten a checkpoint, and that's something that's probably right now my one biggest thing about the game, and it's a really stupid critique. That definitely doesn't take away from the game at all, but it is something to point out if you're looking for kind of an overall review. Is the only problem I have so far is I can't tell when I get checkpoints. Like for example, you know, in Gears of War, there's the iconic like chiming noise every time you get a checkpoint, every time you finish a fight. Other games, it just blatantly says across the screen like checkpoint unlocked. But yeah, point is, I'm pretty sure you get a checkpoint after fighting that guy and killing him. If not, then you're just going to want to proceed carefully. But luckily, the rest of this is pretty easy. So you saw right here that I shot, this was really cool, I shot this like bridge gun, and it just shot a bridge onto the Viking landscape, and it's allowing me to cross. A couple of the regular soldiers are going to ambush you as you're making your way across, so just take them out. I don't think you have to worry about falling off the bridge. Just use your quick attacks to take them out. Really no problem at all. You're going to come in here. There's going to be a standard soldier. I don't really know what to call them because the standard soldiers are the little guys that you can't lock onto. So these guys aren't really standard soldiers. I guess these guys are like standard warriors. So these are the stronger enemies, obviously. I don't know the proper name, so you'll probably hear me flub that a couple of times. But take him out, and you're going to make your way down into this courtyard here. And your objective here is to lower the drawbridge. As soon as you do that, you're done with the level. However, the game's going to throw quite a few enemies at you, and it's kind of one of those things where when you start to lower the drawbridge, it takes about like 10 or 15 seconds. And if there's too many enemies around you, they're going to run up, hit you in the back while you're doing it, and it's going to take you away from that, and you're not going to be able to lower it. So you basically want to make sure that you cleared the area of as many enemies as you can. Now I do believe that the enemies will infinitely respawn here. So what you want to do instead is kind of focus on taking out all the big guys. Don't put as much emphasis on the little guys. Your soldiers will take care of them. Try to focus on taking out these big guys. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was nerves or, once again, just kind of getting used to this guy's fighting style. But you can see here, like, it took me quite a bit of effort just to take out this standard warrior. At this point, I was getting a little frustrated. I didn't feel like it was necessary to have to play as this guy. I really liked fighting with the Warden. I thought he was a much better fighter in terms of my play style. I can understand why they want you to kind of dabble in each style. Completely makes sense, but it just, you know, it can get a little bit annoying, I guess, especially if you're playing on the hardest difficulty. But so you see here, I'm going to run up, finish off this big guy. Now, before any more big guys come, I'm going to lower the drawbridge, and there you go. Thanks for watching, guys. Like and subscribe if you get the chance, and stay tuned for the ending cutscene, which cutscenes in this game are pretty cool.
We couldn't leave a force behind to guard the prisoners.
Hold!
Master, this beast killed at least 40 soldiers, including Davis.
Do you know how to tell a predator from prey? You can't, of course, unless you see them in war. Well done.
I had thought that her laws of selection only applied to us.